everybody. Welcome to episode 178 of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. As you all know, we are a Paul McCartney show mainly dealing with the solo career of Paul McCartney. I'm one of your two co-hosts, and you may know me from my other show, Talk More Talk. I am Tom Hunyadi, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Andy Nichols, my backwards traveler, my buddy. How you doing, my friend?
I'm well, Tom, and happy to be back again for a fresh episode with a new guest for me,
Yeah,
and to be back on again, freshly rested after the last weekend's activities in Chicago with the Beatle Fest, or Fest for Beatles fans, and finally decompressed and de-stressed and ready to
right.
really interview somebody. Looking forward to it because this gentleman's book has been in my collection for about 20 years, almost
Yeah, that's
almost 20 years,
yeah,
almost.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scary.
it is.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you've got a couple of his books there. I've got a couple of them here. He's responsible for the Paul McCartney series, the song he was singing. He's also got the George Harrison two-book series, Soul Man, and then there's the Lennon book as well, right? You've got the Lennon book right there too.
Yeah, and I've
Andy?
actually got the other one, but I've loaned it, which was the other one, the Together Alone, the
Yeah,
combined
Oh,
one.
yeah.
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 Yeah, and I loaned that one to an uncle of mine about a decade ago, and I haven't gotten it back since.
Listen
But
to this book, yeah. And we are talking to John Blaney. John, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. And it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to see you this time.
Yes, this.
so
Yeah.
when did you have John on previously?
Well, this I believe it was 2019. We had John
Yeah.
on right, before you came on, Andy, and we, as we know, we were the audio show, and back then we used ancient,
Ancient
Was it
technology.
technology.
Yeah,
was it Skype?
Skype, yeah, yeah, Skype we used, you know. But no, when we heard John loud and clear, and it was fine. It was a good show, and and now that we're video as well, we thought we have John back on, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about his books, and he's got some goodies that in his collection that he put in this book that we'll show and we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But John, let's just talk about you for a second. Were you a Beatles fan first, a solo fan first, or because your books deal with solo careers, so let's talk about that for a minute.
I discovered the Beatles when I was at school.
Okay.
I took music lessons because I was lazy and they were easy. And I thought, I can learn to play the guitar at school. And
Okay.
the only book of music, the only book of popular songs they had was the Beatles Complete. Do you know the one?
No.
Beatles Complete. And it was the Beatles Complete for piano,
Okay.
which I was trying to learn the guitar. So some of the key songs, they're all in the wrong key. I'm trying to Blackbird in
Right.
E flat. Now I know it's in G, right? But back then you go, how does this thing? I'm trying to learn the guitar to play Blackbird, and it says it's in E flat. Anyway, so yeah,
So you came into learning about the Beatles wanting to be kind of a musician first.
no, I didn't want to be a musician.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to do physics. I didn't want to do physics or chemistry.
So you took the easy way out.
I took the easy way out, yeah. So, and around about the same time, 75-ish, 76, EMI re-released all the Beatles singles, in the green sleeves.
Right.
Right.
I can remember cycling up to my local, it was a chemist in England called Boots.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And they used to have a record department. I remember cycling in my lunch hour. I was still at school, finished school at 12 o'clock, get on my bike, cycle up to Boots. And I remember buying Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. And I rushed home and I just had time to play both sides before I went back to school. And that's what kick-started it. It was going, ooh, what a single, what a single. I didn't know. I hadn't a clue. Could have bought She Loves You or From Me to You. But I bought Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane. That was the first Beatles single I bought, and then I was hooked.
You were hooked.
And they'd hooked me in, and I've been spending loads of money with them ever since.
So you consider yourself a collector as well, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a collection. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
because I've been collecting since I was at school, so I bought all those. Bought all those Beatles singles, and I got my dad. He bought me. I remember my dad bought me a copy of Revolver. Because LPs were expensive things back then. There's a lot of people. People complain about the price of LPs now.
right.
40 odd years ago, they were still expensive.
Well, it's all relative. I mean, what would they go for? About maybe £5 or £6 for an
They were
LP?
probably about maybe £4.
£4, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I know it sounds not like a lot now, but if you go back to then,
yeah.
and you're only making a few bob a week, that's a lot of money.
It was, yeah. I mean, LPs were for birthdays and Christmas. I remember
Right.
I got a copy of the White Album for a birthday present. I've still got
Ah,
it. Still got it
very
because
cool.
it was expensive. I didn't have a job or anything like that,
Right.
So you could afford to go and buy a single. Singles were 70p, 65, 70p. So you could, take your pocket money. You could buy a single a week if you were lucky.
Right. If you're
Right.
lucky, yeah.
But LPs, I remember the first LP I bought with my own money because my dad got me a job. He works at a dairy in Bracknell, just down the road. He got me like a summer job there, and the first LP I bought was actually All Things Must Pass.
Ah.
I had my real money,
Real money and
envelope with notes and
with
coins in it, right? And you go up to Debenhams, went up to Debenhams and had a little record department,
yes.
and that was like probably £5, £5 or £6 that LP.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Easily, yeah.
that was probably quite a big chunk out of my meager weekly wage.
Going to buy a record.
Yeah,
Right.
go and buy a record. And I remember walking back and looking at it and talking to someone else I was gone with there.
Yeah.
That's what record collecting's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, were you also following their solo careers at that point in time as well? Were
Oh
you a
yeah,
fan of?
yeah.
What
So
were,
I think Wings at the Speed of no, Wings Over America had come out,
okay.
and someone at school had a copy. I didn't have a copy because as a 3 LP set, I
Right.
didn't have. I remember. I think I bought maybe I'm Amazed. I
Hmm.
probably bought that as a
Single.
single, and then and I remember those EMI sleeves. The green EMI sleeves. They had the
Yes.
pictures on the. He turned it over and had pictures of the Beatles. I remember sitting there and going, "Oh, that's Paul McCartney, okay, and that one's John Lennon,
Hmm.
and that one's Ringo Starr. And I couldn't work out who George Harrison was. I couldn't. Okay, who's the fourth Beatle? Who's the fourth Beatle? And I eventually found out it was George Harrison. And then you kind of go, oh, hold on, they've all got solo careers as well now.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
So then you kind of go, I remember getting Red Rose Speedway, buying that, and Mind Games, and George, like I say, you got the George Harrison also in the past, and then I think I got a copy of Material World, and then it just opens out this whole world.
Yeah, just thinking about that, it must be so to be in that period in the mid '70s to discover the Beatles, but then also realize that there's solo stuff coming out at the same time to
Yeah.
catch up on top of the Beatles stuff too. I mean, it's almost like overwhelming. There's so much to grasp and learn at that time.
And also the other thing, they just started to republish the Beatles Monthly magazine.
Okay.
So I used to get that every month as well, and there'd be news, because a little news page in the back, and going, Paul's got a new single out, and
Mhm.
blah blah blah,
Right.
blah. And so there was all that happening. I wasn't in the. I eventually did join the Wings Fun Club, as it was called, but
Right.
that wasn't until probably the late '70s, I think.
Okay.
The
Okay.
late '70s.
That period of time, like the mid '70s, let's say. I mean, in your what teenage years.
Yeah.
I mean, was it cool to be a solo Beatles fan, or was it cool to be a McCartney fan at that point in time? In your area.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say not in England, not in
Oh.
No,
England.
no. All my friends were into like Deep Purple,
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin. I remember borrowing a copy of Physical Graffiti off a
Mm.
friend, and Deep Purple in Rock. So no, the Beatles.
By that point, especially in the UK, where if you were still
Right.
a staunch supporter of Wings or McCartney, you were considered like pap. It wasn't really, what are you doing listening to this?
Well, of course, 76. You got Sex Pistols.
Yep.
The whole punk thing comes along. It's all beginning to look a bit passe. I mean, I liked punk. I went out and bought the Sex Pistols album the week it was released. And I liked the more melodic side of punk. I didn't like the more extreme,
the heavier, the loud stuff. Yeah.
Elvis Costello came out of punk. Elvis Costello's not punk. He
No,
never was.
I don't think so.
He was never punk.
No.
But the first Elvis Costello album's a country and western album, for goodness sake. It's got Clover on it. Clover's the back of it. It was sold as being punk because So no, it wasn't popular.
Well, I think Elvis had that kind of like that angry young man kind of image.
He had the angry young man thing down.
Image, yeah.
And obviously the second, My Aim Is True. My Aim Is the first one. The second, This Year's Model.
This Year's Model, yeah.
That's
those are great records. I mean, I think his first four. I mean, you could put his first four up against anybody's first four.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Get Happy is another one too that I.
Yeah, Armed Forces.
Like. Armed Forces is wonderful too. Yeah.
It's on a roll.
Yeah.
Later on, there's the McCartney connection as well. All these.
Yeah, absolutely.
People, dovetailing to one another. Yeah.
So, getting older, getting into the 80s then too. I mean, are you still following? Are you venturing out in your musical tastes as well?
Oh, well, yeah. So by the late 70s, I was working in a record shop.
Oh, great. Cool.
And although I say it myself, it was probably the coolest record shop in town. Saturdays were ram-packed. It was the place you went to meet your friends, okay? Mm-hmm. So if you were going to go hang out in town, you'd go, okay, I'll see you at Quicksilver. It was called Quicksilver.
Okay.
So it was manic. It was absolutely crazy, And working in a record shop, you let it be known to certain people that you're a Paul McCartney fan or you're a Beatles fan.
Right.
You didn't have to buy. You didn't have all the stuff I'd previously been buying. They were now giving it to me.
Right. Perks.
I like this very much.
Yes. I think that's awesome.
But I mean, Paul McCartney. Still really wasn't. He was having the big hits.
Right.
So 1980 was a Tug of War. Tug of War's a bit later, isn't it? 82.
Yeah. So McCartney too, which the album does better in the UK than it does here in the US. I think it goes number one in the UK.
It wasn't number one in the UK.
Yeah. And then you guys were playing the studio version, while over here we were playing the live version, which went to number one over here.
Yeah.
So it's really weird how in the US throughout the 70s Paul was doing just fantastic or better than he was. I mean, he was still doing fine in the UK.
Well, don't forget. I mean, Wings had the biggest selling single of all time in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Well, and actually, Tom and I talked about this not too long ago. Outside of charity type releases.
Right.
Like the Candle in the Wind song or the Band-Aid song, it's still the number one selling single outside of, charitable type, singles. So it's still, Mull of Kintyre still holds that ranking.
Yeah, and outsold the Beatles, outsold She Loves You.
Yes, it did.
Yes. And then, so he was still doing okay. And when he was, I saw Wings in '79.
Where at, John?
Wembley.
Okay.
Wembley Arena. It used to be called something else. It was where all those Beatles, the Enemy, Poll Winners concerts.
Yes, in '65 or something like that. They played there. Yeah.
It's the same venue. Okay. And if you've ever seen the Mark Bolan film Born to Boogie,
with Ringo directing.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a fairly stripped down show. There's nothing like today. There was a few.
Oh, you got you got the explosions. You got everything going on. It's a big deal.
I'll tell you what I remember. The thing that really sticks in my mind. They did Wonderful Christmas Time.
Yes, right.
And one of the roadies came down on a rope dressed as Santa. That was the big special effect.
Wow.
Some poor roadie, get up there! Right,
Right.
when it starts doing wonderful Christmas time, come down on the road.
Right.
That was the
And
big.
and yeah, and the crazy thing is after that, I mean, he wasn't going to tour again for 10 years. So I mean,
That
it's
was
Yeah.
it. Well, fate,
Yeah.
fate, fate had a lot to do with that too.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's,
a lot of stuff went down.
Right, right. But I think it's so cool. I mean, we've interviewed a few people. We've had Lawrence Juber on the show,
Yeah.
talking about that '79 tour, and it's always great to hear people that we've interviewed other people that have also attended those shows that in '79. Small, very short gig. It was only about I don't know a dozen dates or something like that in '70.
Oh yeah, wasn't very big.
Wasn't too many dates, so you got to see them, which was incredible. To play so much material from Back to the Egg too.
Yeah, yeah. I think he did maybe 3 or 4 nights at Wembley. I'm
okay.
not sure. I remember, because back in those days, I had to get my dad to drive me into central London to buy the tickets because.
Right. How else were you going to get them?
How actually? It was either postal.
Mm-hmm.
No chance. Forget it. You send your postal. Didn't even have a check. So a postal order. Don't know if you had those. Send a postal order off and hope you get some tickets back. So I got my dad to drive me up to London, and it was the old Virgin Megastore, and there was a whole load of people queuing up. Freezing cold day, and that's why I bought my tickets. Doing that, the hardcore fans.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember myself getting in line really early in the morning to buy tickets. I mean, before the internet days, but
Yeah.
yeah, those were some dedicated people there.
Certainly were.
At least you stood a chance of getting some tickets, because these days, I mean, I haven't bought tickets online for ages, but
Right.
they go out, they kind of sell out in like 30
Oh
seconds.
yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
you don't stand a chance, do you? Really? I mean,
No.
at least if you went up there and you stood in line, you knew.
Yeah, if you queued up at the venue, you had a halfway decent shot of getting some tickets.
Getting some tickets, yeah.
When did you start getting the bug to want to write?
Oh well, many years pass, and I'd gone back to university as a mature student, and I'd done a degree in history of art.
Okay.
I went to Camberwell College of Art, and I did history of art. And my tutor said, you should go and do a master's degree. Go to Goldsmiths and do a master's degree. Well, there was like a year gap between finishing at Camberwell and then going on to Goldsmiths. I was looking for something to kind of keep all the skills I'd learned, all the research skills and the being able to write a little bit. I wanted something to keep me going so I wouldn't get rusty when I started at Goldsmiths, you see. And at the same time, I was kind of looking for a Paul McCartney discography, because this is, early days of the internet, but there's no Discogs, no Wikipedia,
Right.
there's nothing. Right. And the only thing I could find was that.
Mm-hmm. And that book is called Working Class Heroes, and I'm wondering, I've never seen that one.
Yeah, and this ends in 1982, I think.
Right. Yeah, you're very limited then. I mean, you've got that book, of course. You've got All Together Now by Wally Podrazik. Some of those, of course.
Yeah, I don't think he would have had that out there, though. You guys probably wouldn't have had this.
We didn't have that.
In the UK.
That was published in '76, but it was mainly here in America. Now the Roy Carr book is also late '70s. You've got that, to kind of use as a guide to kind of get a discography going, and that. That's really good. You were very limited in terms of what you could really read.
That was it. That, as far as I was aware, that was it in the UK.
In the UK, yes.
In the UK, that was 2 books basically. I mean, there might have been a few more, but really not in terms of discographies or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, well, if no one else is going to write it, I suppose it's down to me.
Right.
Right. So when did you initially get the idea to I mean, where was McCartney at in his career when you really started to kind of get serious about writing the book? Was it in the 90s? Was it in the early 2000s?
Yeah. It would have been the late 90s
When you first got when you after Flaming Pie, Run Devil Runish,
would have been 97, 98, I think.
right? So when you started to get serious, so because that's the second you undertake a project like this, as you well know, the second you've gone to print and publish it, it's already it's out of date already because of so you know that better than anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. The other thing is, you're always discovering new information about things, and
right.
yeah, and a lot. There's a lot more information now than we ever had. I mean, all those deluxe editions, all the interviews and stuff in there
that are included in the things now, which you didn't have available for your research back then. You just had to go by what you had. And one of the things I love about in your acknowledgments of the book, you have a little bit of a dig at MPL in there because they didn't offer any assistance.
Well, I have to say, I mean, EMI. I did get to go to EMI archives.
Oh wow!
And I dug out some stuff there, but they're not very helpful either. In fact, the last time I was trying to do some research on the Beatles, and they were just making it so difficult. They clearly didn't want anybody looking through their archives. I mean, I presume they still got their website, EMI archive.
Right.
Yeah.
But you try getting in it, unbelievable. They don't want you. And at MPL, no response from them. They weren't interested. Thank you very much. And now, of course, they've got archivists working for MPL. They've got 2 or 3 more. Yeah.
They've got a whole team of people that are doing what you did 20 some odd years ago.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, Paul, if you're listening, I know some really good books that might be able to help you.
But I guarantee you, his team is aware of your works and other people's works to use. I'm sure they have to be. If they're any halfway decent archivists and researchers, they're looking at your books. They're looking at your works. They have to because. I can remember when I bought this book around 2003 or 4, and I bought it on a trip to England, and I saw it. I think I saw it in a Virgin Megastore actually.
Oh.
I saw it there, and I said, "Oh, a book just on Paul." I mean, I couldn't believe it. A book just on Paul McCartney as a solo artist. I said, "I haven't seen one of these things in my life," and and it wasn't cheap either. I think it was at least about £20, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
so for a Yank, that was a lot of money. But I said, I got to have this book because there was nothing else really published just covering the solo careers. I'm like, I don't know this guy, but this is a book just on Paul McCartney's solo career. I got to have it.
It's a bit opinionated, if you ask me.
That's good, though.
Yeah, that's good. So, you got this idea. Do you pitch it around to publishers? Do you automatically just say, "I'm gonna publish it myself"? Talk about that.
Yeah. You're aware of Omnibus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought they're the publishers for me. I'll write to Omnibus. And I sent them a sample and waited a few weeks, and then. I'm so naive, I've waited like 2 weeks and they haven't got back to me. What's the matter with these people? So I thought I'll phone them up. And goodness knows how, I must have got through to like the editor or something. And he said, "Well, yeah, we'd really like to help you, but we're also the publishers for MPL music books. And we don't want to do anything that's going to upset Paul. Basically."
Right. Sorry. Yeah,
of
course.
Don't blame them at all. But so that was Omnibus gone. There was also there was another publisher called Helter Skelter. There was a bookshop in what's called Tin Pan Alley, Denmark Street in London. There was a fantastic. All it sold was music books. And they also had a publishing arm. And I sent it to them, and I waited and I waited and I waited, and they came back to me and suggested a few things they'd like to be in it. But by that time, I decided I'm going to do it myself.
Okay.
Right, you had enough. You had enough of being part of the machine. Yeah.
2 people. I'm an impatient kind of a guy. I mean, 2 people messing me about. So So yeah, I self-published it, and then basically via that I made contact with Backbeat Books, and they're the ones who did the Together Alone.
Okay.
Okay,
So
they're the one, right?
yeah, so I followed it up with that John Lennon book.
Right.
So I thought, oh, I've done a book about Paul. I'll do a book about John.
Right.
Self-published that one. That's why I self-published that as well. And I thought, well, I think this has still got a bit of mileage in it, and we'll see what happens. So I went to see Backbeat Books, and they said, why don't we put both books together
to be the Together Alone book? Yeah,
that was Together Alone book. Yeah. Excuse me. So they did that.
Well, can you talk a little bit about self-publishing back then? Because nowadays it seems like a lot of people are self-publishing Beatles and Beatles related
through
books.
Amazon and things like that. You can self, but early the McCartney book's 03, the Lennon book is 05. So that's early days of self-publishing. So yeah, explain a little about how that was in the early days.
Well, basically, I had to get a big chunk of money together.
Yeah.
And find a printer who would do it. And I think there was 1,000 copies of the McCartney book and 1,000 copies of the Lennon book.
Okay.
And then of course you got to get, how do I sell it?
Right.
I think I had a website. I sold a few through the website. And then there's other things like I started approaching English Heritage because they had the McCartney and Lennon house,
Right, of the National Trust House.
Yeah, the National Trust. I thought, surely they'd want, this to go in their shop. Surely. I mean, this is perfect. This is ideal to go in their little shop. No. So it's just like, knockback after knockback after knockback. But the McCartney book sold very quickly. I mean, that sold out within months, basically.
Wow.
Okay.
So
I mean, obviously, you price it to where hopefully you're making a profit too for these.
Yeah, I don't think I made much.
Okay, but you got your money back though, I'm sure.
Got the money back, yeah. Got the money back. Probably made a little bit, and then you got that pot of money, and then you put that into I put that into the Lennon book.
Into the Lennon book, because I see on the Lennon book it says limited edition of 1,000 copies.
Yeah, there you go.
On the Lennon book, doesn't say that on the McCartney book, but you said it was also 1,000.
Yeah, there was only 1,000. That's it. There was a one-off print run, 1,000 copies, and that was it. So
how long does that McCartney book take you? And are you also reaching out to other collectors to try to get images that you need for the book?
Oh well, well, it took years. I mean, probably took 3 years.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm not sure that did I reach out to other McCartney collectors. Certainly later on I did.
Right.
Later on when you did the series that Tom has,
people turned up all sorts of stuff I've never even heard of.
Right.
John, explain the process of reproducing the artwork in the books, and was there any loopholes and permissions you had to use to get the images and the album covers printed in the book?
Well, basically, it's publish and be damned.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I mean, I think it's fair to say that most of the images are in the public domain.
Right.
Their album covers. The album goes, okay, MPL own the copyright on it, but trying to control something like that is almost impossible because you walk into any shop, any record shop, and there it is. And
right.
I haven't had any. Well, fingers crossed. No one, no one's come back. Later on with the Lennon book, I licensed images from a few photographers.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
But things like covers and labels. I mean, you just have to publish and hope for the best. Nothing's happened.
For the best.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
No, but those labels are great to see because as we know, the labels are changed from pressing to pressing at times. You got the Apple pressing, obviously, and then you got the the Capitol pressing come 76 and you also kept it to just the UK and the US releases as well, right?
Good point, Tom. I was actually going to just ask John about that. He kept it just basically the two markets, US and UK, instead of getting it into all the other markets and what the label. My co-host is a big collector of the singles of other markets and other countries. But I imagine that if you were going to tackle other markets and other territories, that would have been just a lot more work on your end to do that, to do what they charted and all that other stuff.
Right.
I'd still be doing it, really, wouldn't I?
You probably would.
Are you familiar with it? Is it Marcus Den Boer, the German? There's a German chap who I've
Right.
I've got his books. Because he does all that. He does global, doesn't he? He picks a year. He's done like 70 to 73, I think.
Okay.
And they're packed full of. And here's the thing. He actually goes out and buys. So practically everything that's in those books, he's got.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So his collection must be incredible.
That's the kick copy. Right. And that's the kick I'm on right now is the picture sleeves from around the world. I think they're fascinating. I love them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, of course, now you're lucky, you see, because you've got Discogs.
Yes. Yeah, and eBay. Yeah.
And eBay. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a little easier.
It's a little easier. So I mean, I deliberately stuck with the UK and US.
Right.
Because otherwise, it's a big book anyway. It would have been huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
John, talk a little bit about. One of the things I love about your book is that it's the way that you kind of laid the format out and the indexing and how you kind of used your own kind of unique numbering system to talk about the tracks, and you kind of go about I'm not going to go through if there's the lovely Linda's on 3 or 4 compilations. I'm not going to talk about it 5 times. Go look about it when I first wrote about it.
Yeah. I mean, that would just be pointless repetition because it's the same song. There's only one recording of the lovely Linda, and you've said what you want to say about it. And if it turns up on subsequent compilations, well, go back and read the entry. It's there in the book.
Yeah, but to the flip coin to that is sometimes opinions change.
Oh yeah.
And have you encountered that?
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, there are still albums that I don't like, but there are albums where you listen to it and you think, "Oh, actually, I didn't like that when it came out." I mean, I can't give you an example off the top of my head about Paul McCartney, but recently I was listening to Kate Bush Aerial album. Mm-hmm. And I remember when that came out, I thought, this is a load of old rubbish. What on earth is this old? Utter, no, not this, no. 30 years later, is it? 30 years later, I thought, I'm going to go have another listen to that.
Right.
I'm blown away by it. What was I thinking?
Right.
This is a work of genius. It's symphonic in its scope.
So it's safe to say that maybe your opinion has changed on stuff like Pipes of Peace, An Average Person, and The Other Me?
No. No. Funny. No.
We'll just
this is the thing I can't understand, right? So he gets in George Martin, and they do Tug of War.
Right.
And obviously George Martin, he says, I'm going to be really tough on you, Paul. It's only going to be the best songs, and we're going to produce. And they do a good album, Tug of War. I like Tug of War. It's a good album. Then they go on, they take all the little bits that they haven't quite finished with Tug of War, and they go, right, we'll make these into Pipes of Peace. What happened?
Right.
What happened, George? I mean, I wish you were still here so we could ask you, because something went horribly wrong.
Well, I think we can chalk a lot of that up to maybe because Paul was still doing Broad Street at the same time, so he wasn't totally committed to making a proper record like he was with Tug of War. Now, 100% biased to me. I love Pipes of Peace, so I really can't say too much about. I like the record a lot.
Let me just say, having slagged it off, it's got 2 #1 singles on it.
It's got a #1 in the UK and then a #1 here in the States, and say here and then Pipes of Peace there.
Yeah, and they were #1 at the same time, weren't they?
Yeah,
yeah. So
actually,
I can't think of any other artists who've had #1s in America and #1 in England and America with different songs at the same time. Right. Can you think of anyone else?
And plus, Pipes of Peace in the UK was his closest album to having 2 number ones, because then Say 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 went to number 2 in the UK, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, he almost had 2 number ones on that album in the UK.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a really big album. It was a commercial
Right.
album. Just
Right.
I don't like it.
It's just, yeah.
Well, it's interesting though, like the trends, and Tom just touched upon this, and maybe you can speak to this, maybe why the perception changed a little bit. In the 70s, Paul McCartney had a lot of success in America, huge success, 5 number 1 albums in a row with Wings, and did okay in the UK, mostly top 10. And then come the 80s, Paul starts doing really well as a solo artist in the UK with singles like We All Stand Together and Coming Up and, Pipes of Peace and Once Upon and some things like that. But where in America, he doesn't start to do so well. So it's just interesting to see how in the UK in the 80s, he started to do a little bit better, where in the 70s, they didn't really embrace him as much.
I don't know. Maybe it's just like radio support. See, the thing you have to remember about the UK is we've never had the vast number of radio stations that you have. Right. Mainly, there was Radio 1. Radio 1 was the station. It was the big pop station. And if they got behind a single and they, really played it, people would just hear it, over and over and over again. It was like, it was a fantastic marketing tool. That's what record companies employed pluggers, and they would go and, please play our record.
Right.
If we can get it on the radio, people will hear it and then buy it. I mean, there's a really big hit single by Jonah Louie called "Stop the Cavalry." I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
It was a number 1 single over here. It was a Christmas number 1 single, and the pluggers worked on that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and no one at the BBC wanted anything to do with it. And then one DJ got behind it. And he started to play it.
You make a great point, which I think a lot of our listeners and viewers maybe in America don't realize, because we got so many radio stations in this country, even back in the 80s. In the UK, you got BBC One, BBC Two, and what else? There
were independents. There was like Capital Radio, but they were all local. There were loads of local radio stations.
Right, local radio stations. So if you're in one country and you've only got 2 or 3 radio stations, and your record's not being plugged, then the influence of the radio station in the country, in the UK, is paramount to the success of a record. It's really amazing.
And we only had 4 television channels.
Right.
We had 4, and Top of the Pops, which was the big TV program over here. If you got on that, you were watched by tens of millions of people. I don't know what the viewing figures were. They were like 15 million or something for Top of the Pops. That's a big chunk of the audience.
Well, that's the goal, really, because they're playing the top 10, the top 10 singles.
40, I think top 40.
Top 40.
And if
so
you notice,
you're on
Paul,
there.
Paul did a lot more of those appearances in the 80s, getting his videos played, especially in the video age there in the 80s, going on Wogan and things like that.
Yeah, Wogan, all those kind of shows. I mean, he knew that you had to put the work in. You've got to go and promote yourself. If you don't promote yourself, then your record's just going to sink. It is. George Harrison found that out with Gone Troppo. He could put it out.
He did nothing. Yeah, he did nothing. No promotion.
And it's a great album, and it sank without trace. The next album, Cloud 9, goes out there, loads and loads of promotion, number 1. So it just goes to show. When you get out there and you promote it, it makes a huge difference. Yeah.
So, did you sell out of your John book too?
No, What, do you want one?
Why not? That's probably it's the only book of yours. That's the only book of yours I don't have. Then
I've got one or two. Okay. I can spare one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll talk after. So then, when did you decide then to split up the McCartney?
Yeah, I'm fascinated to hear about that, because Tom showed me those, when we became friends, and I'm like, wait, Blaney's got 4 books? I said, he's only got 1 book, and I've got it. I've had it for 20 years. And he's like, well, no, there's 4 books. So explain how your initial book got then subdivided into 4 books, and then because obviously the first run goes up until about Driving Rain ish or so, and then but what Tom's got goes on a little bit later. So yeah, tell us how that worked out.
So I did the McCartney book, and then I got the deal with Backbeat, and they put both books together.
Right. Okay.
But they let me keep the rights for individual volumes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so so again they're self-published, and I wasn't, sorry Andy, but I wasn't very happy with the original book. I wanted there to be lots more illustrations. I wanted it to be in color. You know, that's in black and your copy's in black and white, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought I could just make it better. You know, I can get more illustrations. That's when I started reaching out to like McCartney collectors, you know, who contributed a lot of the images.
Right. Because then in some of the volumes too, and like towards the end, you show you'll show some picture sleeves from around the world, you know, and stuff like that. And this is really how I started, you know, going through your books. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have that one yet. Let's find that picture sleeve, you know. And this is great for collectors as well, because you know, obviously, you know, you might not know everything that's out there. I mean, this pretty much covers just about everything that's out there.
I think it's fairly comprehensive, you know, for the UK and the US releases. It's got because later editions, as you say, there's all those kind of MPL promo CDs in the back and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd like to think it's fairly comprehensive.
So what's the timeline then, John? When the book got expanded into 4 parts, what years? When did that all happen?
You know what? I haven't got a clue. Hold on a minute.
The first
I've got a copy here.
There you go, because I think that comes out in 2010.
Did it?
Yes,
you're right. Yeah. 2010.
Okay.
2010. So
we do our homework here.
Right.
This is always the way, right? It's always you guys know more about this stuff than the people who wrote the book.
Now, did all 4 volumes get released at the same time, or were they broken up?
No, you know, I've got another one here. So that's 2 years later.
Okay.
So
that's volume. Is that the Naughties there then? The one you got in your
4.
Yeah, volume 4.
Maybe I was doing I can't have done one every 6 months. I don't know.
Right.
Something like that. But there you go.
I've got my work cut out for me then to get those other 4 now to make it a little more complete.
Sorry about that.
My pleasure. No. Are they still? Are they?
Have you got that one?
Oh yes, that's I bought that. That is a great book. How everything they touch turned to gold. Love that one.
Yep, that's a good one too.
Absolutely love that one.
I love that image for the cover too. It's a good cover.
Apparently they tweaked it a bit because how does this camera work? Because George was originally at the back, they said, and they wanted him to be at the front because George was always the one who was supposed to be more conscientious about money. So they photoshopped it.
That book was such an education on the value of the money and understanding the differences and what the money was at the time. You know, especially to a Yank like me to understand the British monetary system and how it worked back then. It was that's essential reading for any Beatles fan.
Well, I mean, pre-decimalisation, the British monetary system was archaic to say the least, you know, because you had 240 pennies in a pound, 12 pennies in a shilling, and you had things like half a crown, which was 2 and 6, and like 10 bob notes. I remember if my uncle or aunt or a granddad gave me a 10 bob note, that was like, way loads of sweets with that.
And what year did they finally get rid of all of that? It was 71, I think you talk about in the book.
71, yeah. They started phasing it out, and then they brought in decimalisation.
Right.
Yeah, which is just so much easier. You know?
Yeah, because like so many different. You're reading all at 7 and 6, and it costs this. And as an American, you're like, what the hell does 7 and 6 mean?
And guineas.
Yeah, and guineas too.
Yeah. That'll be 40 guineas.
It's like that famous scene in A Christmas Carol with Alistair Sim, right? When he sends the boy back, come back, I'll give you you come back, I'll give you half a crown.
Yeah, that's it. Half a crown, 2 and 6. Yeah, that was a lot of money in those days. 2 and 6 was, I sound like an old man now, but.
But everything they touch turned to gold book. I love that one, and I really recommend our viewers and listeners to check that one out too, because it's an aspect of the history that is unique, and it really kind of helps you break down and understand what it all meant in real time.
I mean, if you think about how much money there was going into that machine that was called the Beatles, watching the Get Back.
Right.
DVDs. The film alone, how much was it costing? They're just rolling and rolling and rolling.
Right.
You got camera crews and sound guys, and that was an expensive thing to make. Nobody else could have done that at the time. No, I dread to think. There's a bit in the film, isn't there, where Glenn John says, "You do know this is costing you 2 and 6 a foot."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. And then 2015, you said, okay, I've done Paul twice now. Doing John. And then we said, okay, well, let's get to George. And then you've actually got the 2 volumes actually in a hardcover. Which is nice as well. So, let's spend a few minutes on George, because, the collectability on George too is just as, I think, just as good as Paul. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff out there.
And tell you the truth, that George book was such a learning experience.
Really?
Because I had to go off and get a good understanding of Hinduism.
Mm.
Because without knowing how the basic premise of Hinduism and what that philosophy is talking about,
right,
you really can't understand a lot of what George was talking about. Because I think he says at one point, living in the material world, he said, is basically straight out of Hinduism. It's all Hinduism. It's all about spirituality and the material world versus the spiritual world. And so that was, I thank you, George. I'll say that now. I'll say thank you, George. For expanding my understanding of Hinduism, because I found it fascinating, diving into that whole world. And it gave me a much better understanding of what George is all about.
Well, that and the takeaway too, I think maybe a challenge. And I think just to go through that process and learn more about who George was. And then kind of going through his discography, obviously it's not nearly as comprehensive as McCartney. So, it's just shorter. He didn't put out as much material. So maybe by diving into George and learning about how he appreciated Hinduism and mysticism and stuff like that, you were able to kind of focus that on more, even though the discography and the amount of the workload wasn't as much or as prolific as, say, McCartney.
No, but the interesting thing is, George was really prolific in the late 60s, like from 68 to 70. I mean, even I was astounded. You kind of go, he's producing Billy Preston, Doris Troy, Radha Krishna Temple. He's working with the Beatles. He's working with Badfinger. He produces All Things Must Pass, the concert of Bangladesh. That's all like in the first 3 years of his career.
Right. As just so, very, very busy at the beginning of his career. Yeah.
And then he obviously slows off, quite a bit. I've got a George story I can tell you. Have we got time to do a George
please.
story?
Absolutely.
Well, I was working in a record shop. This is a different record shop. And it was in Reading. And George used to live in Henley. Henley's about 10 or 12 miles from Reading. Really close. And I was in the shop one day, and this young lad comes up to the counter and he asks for a CD. I can't remember what it was. I go, oh, yeah, we got that. I'll have to go and get the cover for you, because it was one of those shops where all the cases were out in the front and the CDs. So I'm walking around the counter, and I clocked this bloke stood at the end of the counter looking very sheepish. And I went, that's George Harrison. And it was Danny. It was Danny. Danny came in with George. George was just stood at the end of the counter. And I'm going, oh my God, it's George Harrison. Well, but, try and be cool. Don't do anything stupid. Play it cool. Get the CD. There you go, mate. That'll be whatever it was, $9.99. Give him his change. Off he trots. About 30 seconds later, Danny's back. He says, "Dad said I gave you a £20 note. I only shortchanged him."
You did? Wow.
For one Beatle, you don't want the short change.
No. Oh, you gave him change for a £10 note, not a 20.
Because I was, you can imagine, I was ringing it up on the till. I'm thinking, it's George Harrison.
Right, you're not thinking. Yeah,
I'm not thinking about the right change. I'm thinking that's George Harrison. And I'll tell you what,
especially the most money conscious Beatle. Yeah.
Exactly. So Danny, if you're watching this, I apologise. Your dad freaked me out. It wasn't my fault. Your dad freaked me out.
That's awesome. What a first-hand story. What year do you remember? Do you remember approximately when that would have been?
I think it was the Beatles Anthology. It was around that time. It was the
95, 96.
Yeah, it was around that time. And I tell you what, if you would have walked straight past George Harrison. Mm-hmm. He had about hadn't shaved for at least a week and a bit. He had this kind of black beanie hat on, and you know what a donkey jacket is? You know what a donkey jacket? He had, it's like a real old rough workman's jacket. It's like a black jacket, and had these plastic shoulder pads to him.
Okay.
And you wouldn't have known it was him.
Wow.
Really. And I just thought, that's George Harrison. That's
why?
George Harrison.
Right. Why Soul Man? Why did you decide to call the book Soul Man?
Basically because of the Hindu aspect of it. That's what soul as in the spirituality, really.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of soul in George's music, and all those. He loved all that Billy Preston and Smokey Robinson. Yep. And he was
double play, double meaning, really.
Double play on word. Yeah.
Like that. But he was an interesting man. Let's put it like that.
So you've written 3 books on the 3 solo Beatles. You've written the book on the Beatles themselves with the money. What was your favorite book? What book did you enjoy writing the most?
Oh, blimey, they're all hard work, basically. I mean, it's just a case of you have to knuckle down. I mean, when I was doing the Beatles book, I was working full time. And I had a deadline. I had a year to do that Beatles book in. Mm-hmm. So I was working hard. I was working full time. I used to get home, and then I'd work from probably 6 till 10.
Oh wow!
5-6 nights a week, and then you'd be interviewing people, transcribing the interviews. I think actually I went to the Chicago Beatles Fest, and I went to the big library in Chicago. So I've got stuff from Variety magazine and all that kind of stuff. So nice. It's hard work, you basically it's 5 years. I would say if you're going to write something like that, it's 5 years out of your life. And if you're Mark Lewison, it's
it'll turn out to be 30 years.
30 years.
Did you read Tune In? Did you read his first volume?
Yeah.
The standard one or the big one?
No, just the standard one. I was a bit skeptical. I thought, surely there's nothing. It's all been done. There's nothing new out there.
Not with Mark.
No.
This is just unbelievable.
Right.
The thing that sticks in my mind is about the Beatles going to buy boots or something, and they all had smelly feet. I mean,
well, the work that he did to reach out to get these firsthand accounts from the living people. That's where Mark shines, because he finds these people that sold them boots or did whatever and whatever, and he has it. But he makes sure that the stories are corroborated too. He just doesn't take one person's account.
Right.
He makes sure that it's backed up too.
I mean, he's right up there. I mean, he's the gold standard
right now. Absolutely.
He is the gold standard.
Absolutely.
And we are not worthy. We are not worthy. We are not worthy to lick his pencil stub.
So speaking of not worthy, so is Ringo not worthy of you doing a couple volume Ringo book set?
I've got to be very diplomatic here, haven't I?
No, be honest. Be honest.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay. The thing is, Ringo's not a songwriter.
No.
He's an interpreter. So if I write a book about Ringo's discography, it's just really going to be about him interpreting other people's songs. Okay, last few years he started writing a few more songs, but you know, I don't think I find it very satisfying.
Okay.
You know, it's because you know, I mean, I love Ringo. I mean, what's his first? Sentimental Journey. What a great album that is.
Good
But
record.
it's all covers.
Covers.
It's all covers. You know. So what are you going to say? You know, it was written in 1939 by Cole Porter.
Hoagie Carmine. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
What are you going to say?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you
Okay.
say? You know,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
that's the only reason. That's the only reason. That's, you know, nothing against Ringo. I've got all. I haven't got all his albums. I've stopped buying. I stopped buying them some time ago. Actually.
You're not missing much. You're not missing
I
much.
just-
You're not missing much.
No, exactly. I think he did that one. Was it a Joss Stone on it or something?
What?
I kind of thought, oh, Ringo, what are you doing here? I tell you what, when he was working with Mark Hudson, was it Mark Hudson?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mark Hudson. Yeah.
Well, they were great.
Yeah, they're good records.
Good records. They made some good records, but as soon as something happened.
Yeah.
Something happened. We don't know what. But then it just started going downhill a bit.
You got a stack of records there to your left, a little show and tell. What do you got there? Give us a show.
Oh, hold on one second. Before we get to that, I just want to okay. So you got the 70s volume, you got the 80s volume, you got the 90s volume, you got the naughties,
the naughties,
as you guys call it.
Yeah.
2010 to 2019. You know, there's a bulk of stuff that's out. Now I understand there's a lot of reissues in this decade as well. But you know, you've got Ocean Kingdom, you've got Kisses on the Bottom, you've got New, you've got Egypt Station, you got Hope for the Future. You got Hope for the Future, you got Blink of an Eye. I mean, there's
pure McCartney.
You still got, you know, you got Art of McCartney. You know, so I mean, there's quite.
That's a tribute record, though.
That's a tribute, but you could put that out there too. You know, but it's I mean, there's still a lot out there that you can write about. And listen, a couple fans have come up to me and say, "Hey, why isn't there a volume 5?" You know, I've reached out to you about this, and you've given me your reason. Go ahead and talk about it now.
Well, it's because I'm lazy, basically.
We'll help you. We'll help you.
As we say in England, I can't be asked.
Yeah,
I can't be asked. No, I did start it.
Yes.
Oh, you did.
I started it, and it's like what you said. I think, well, there's an awful lot of reissues here,
right,
which I've kind of already dealt with in the earlier volumes, and while I think the way those deluxe editions are presented is fantastic, I am a little bit disappointed with the bonus audio.
Oh well, yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
you know,
I mean,
and I found myself, sitting at the keyboard, and I'm going, well, it's not as good as the version that came out on. It's not quite up to, it's like, I don't want to be negative, but I don't want to be a fanboy. I don't want to be gushy.
Try to be objective. Yeah.
They're trying to be objective, and and also, I tell you what, we mentioned this earlier on. I really didn't like Kisses on the Bottom when it came out. I thought, what are you doing, man? But having said that, my opinions changed. I listened to it recently, and I thought, well, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. And his singing and the way he sings it, I didn't like the way he sang it. And I'm thinking, well, actually, no, I think he was right to sing it that way. And, so I haven't answered your question, have I?
Well, kinda.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously, a fifth volume would be a lot of. I mean, you've got new studio material to talk about, but a bulk of it would be these reissues. And you've said,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
how better can I say that these bonus tracks aren't great? I think where you might agree is that where the archive reissues really excel is in kind of photographic content and pictures and essays and stuff like that, and lacking on audio.
Yeah, I think that you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
we
Well,
can't
yeah.
get any more, can we?
What else can so? How much could you write about these archive sets? I mean, maybe, but other than, I mean, you've said it already. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of said it already. Oh, I don't know. You put me on the spot here, haven't you?
Well, I mean, I mean, but not only is there a lot of reissues, but I mean, he was busy as well. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, you also got cut me some slack that he did with the Nirvana. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff. There's still a lot of stuff out there that he did with other people. You know, Songbird in a Cage is another one that comes up to my mind with the actress. I'm you know, forgetting her name at the moment. But I mean, there's just so much stuff that you know that can be talked about as well, and plus just for you know the collecting ability of the book, where you're showing you know the CD, you're showing the label, and letting younger fans you know what else is out there, and I think that's what I really love about your books is because you're bringing awareness to what's out there.
Making me feel guilty now.
Well, that's the whole point. No,
you know that was his whole point. How many times, John?
I want volume 5. Volume 5.
John, honest to God, over the last couple of years, I can't tell you how many times Tom has told me, I really wish he'd do volume 5.
I'll tell you what. I'll do a bespoke issue just for Tom. How about that?
Oh, okay, thank you. Very
Okay, there you go. I'll do it just for you. Okay.
I appreciate
that.
Leave that.
What do you have a couple of those favorite records there to your left that you wanted to show us?
Some rare stuff here.
They have stories attached. Hopefully, we'll have
let's hear them.
Let's hear them.
Cool.
Okay.
There we go. First edition. Is that a first edition of McCartney too?
Well, hold on.
Oh, is that a promo maybe?
Hold on.
What do we got? Oh,
the press release.
Kid?
Yeah.
So it's this is the press pack.
Oh,
very
for
cool.
the album.
Oh man.
And this is you're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me.
Is that an invitation to go to something? It is. Playback of his new LP. Wow. In Birmingham on the 7th of May at 7 p.m. Wow.
Nice.
That was it. I was the callow youth. Well, it was super cool. I was stood at the bar ordering a drink, and Paul McCartney came in and stood right beside me. Yeah, that's right. So we've had the George Harrison experience. He's like, oh my god, it's Paul McCartney. Oh, it's Paul McCartney, and he stood beside, and he just put people at ease. He goes, oh, what are you drinking? I remember this. What are you drinking? And I had a glass of wine or something. And he ordered that Beatles drink, you know, the rum and coke or whatever, the whiskey and coke. And he ordered that. So we had a bit of a chat. I got him to sign a couple of things, which I haven't got here. Oh. And have you got the deluxe edition of McCartney too?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you open it up, you'll see there's some pictures of fans at the event, right? If you look very closely, you can see the top of my head.
Okay.
You're going to make me dig that off the shelf now, John, and go look for it.
I was stood right beside him, and a photographer came around and said, can we have some photographs? And so I just turned around. I was on McCartney's right. And the moment the photographer went click, this woman went,
oh
no. Wow. So this is 1980. Wow. So
1980, yeah. So I got that. And
wow. Also, that is incredible.
This is a test pressing.
Copy of McCartney 2.
Huh. You know how I got this?
How?
I was at work in the shop, and I was wearing an Ultravox shirt.
Okay.
It was a kind of white shirt, and it had Ultravox embroidered on it. And the EMI rep comes in. He says, "That's a nice shirt, isn't it?" I went, "Yes, it's good, isn't it?" He said, you want to swap it? I said, well, what for? He goes, I've got a test pressing on the McCartney 2 album.
Done.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I
Thank
worked
you.
shirtless for a couple
Thank you very
hours.
much.
Yeah, but did you have another shirt? You had to put another shirt on?
Oh, I gave it to him the following week. I laundered it.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I would have said, here, take it now. Give me the press. Give me the test pressing.
So that was one of the perks of working in the shop. As soon as they knew you were a McCartney fan, there's probably no one else to give it to. They'd probably know, who wants it?
Oh, who wants this? Right. Yeah.
Okay. So second in the show and tell.
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy. Picture
Oh.
disc. Back to the picture disc.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
You got that one, Tom, or no?
Not yet. It's on my radar.
Ah.
So that one, again, same record shop. The people who own the shop, bloke called Kevin and Neil, they own the shop, and occasionally they would have to go up to EMI's offices in Manchester Square, probably to talk money or something.
Mm.
And one day Neil came back, Neil Howard, and he said, "I've just seen a picture disc of that new Wings album." No, rubbish. There's no such thing, because it's only a promo thing. He goes, yeah, I'll get it for you. I know, well, all right, if you can get it for me, I'll have it. Week later, there you go.
Did you try playing that?
I played it once.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of marks on it because it was actually pinned to the wall apparently at EMI's offices.
Okay.
But it plays okay. Plays fine.
Okay.
Picture disco.
Things that people would give their, gold teeth for, you were just given because of your connections at a record store. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
I know. It's mad, isn't it?
Right.
Here you go. Have it. What else we got here? I'll tell you what.
Do you have memory almost full over there?
I see
Sorry?
it. I think I see it. I see
Yeah.
memory
Almost full.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second because there's a little bit of a difference between the U.S. and the U.K. I believe.
The UK folds down or folds open, right?
I have both because I'm that
Okay.
sad. This is the American version,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this
Yeah.
was mine.
and it's thicker card. This is on really nice, thick, heavyweight card, and
Okay.
the UK version is on like glossy paper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, I think the US version is probably better than
Right.
the UK version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been amazed, John, at the quality of the why the UK pressings always had that glossier print than versus the US copies of records in your country versus our country. The way they're reproduced or the way they're manufactured, they're always a little more glossier in the UK and thinner than their US counterparts. I've always been fascinated by that fact.
Yeah. I think basically it is money. I think Capital didn't want to spend any money. They wanted to do it as cheaply as possible.
Yeah, because they're made better in the UK. They just are.
I mean the UK ones, they're lovely gloss laminate on them.
Yes.
And fold back sleeves and
Right.
thick cardboard, really thick, card sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
Americans, not so much. Kind of just cheap on the cheap.
Yeah. Because I mean, and there's the story about Capitol only putting 10 tracks on an album to save money.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Says it all, doesn't it? Says it all, really. So.
All right. What else you got?
Oh well, I've got a Beatles thing.
Yeah. Sure.
Have you seen that?
Not is it a what is it? Is it just a
Someone's been very naughty. Someone's been very naughty. And the stream, you can only get this on the
Disney Plus? Yeah.
Oh, so it's a bootleg then.
Yeah, it's bootleg, but means
Wow, that looks pretty...
lovely glossy inner sleeve.
Yeah.
And
that
a poster.
I tell you what, these chaps are getting very interesting with what they produce these days. For not being official. Wow.
I mean, Apple have surely missed a trick, haven't they?
To put a vinyl version out of just the rooftop.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's on green vinyl.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I was just at the Beatle Fest. It's amazing. Even just walking around record shops here in my part of the world, the bootlegs command as much or more than a standard LP now.
Yeah.
It's like the bootlegs have become collectible, which is crazy.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, they were all made in fairly small numbers,
Yeah.
and they were fairly difficult to get hold of.
Right.
You know, there were certain shops you knew kind of
Right.
sold bootlegs.
Right.
I remember you'd go up to what's one of the markets in London? Can't think what it is now. Not Petticoat Lane. One of those. You go up to these London markets, and there'd invariably be someone there with a stall selling bootlegs and things.
Yeah,
Like that.
I mean, because they were so few pressed anyway. What do you
But
got, Tom?
I mean, whoever did this, what a fantastic job! They've done
Yeah.
a really,
I believe
really
it.
good job.
Yeah. I
And
believe it.
maybe they'll release one now. Who knows? Maybe Apple will release a
Oh,
vinyl.
that's the other thing. Whilst we're here, what are your opinions on the Revolver? There's supposed to be a Revolver box set.
Oh, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I would love to hear a new mix of it.
If-
You know,
If it's done the right way, well, I think if they do those kind of, have you listened to any of those Lennon box sets? They do this evolution thing where they show you the track, how it started, and then how it kind of all different until they finish. If they do something like that with Revolver, because I don't think that the well was kind of dry in terms of extra stuff. They're going to really have to get creative with what they do with this set. I mean, because there's not a whole lot of out there. So if they do some kind of thing where we hear Rain or Paperback Writer presented from its, bare bones level and how they kind of build it up, I think that would be sonically a great listen.
Well, that's what I was thinking because, we've all got the bootlegs and what have you.
Right.
And there's not a lot from Revolver, is it?
No.
So I'm just wondering how they're going to build a box set out of it. I mean, I'll buy it. Of course I will.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
The thing I probably spent the most on to get in my collection was
Twin
this
Freaks.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought 2 of those. I got 2 of those. I bought them when it came out.
Well, yeah.
I'll tell you what else I've got as well that will really annoy you. I've got the Rinse the Raindrops 12 inch.
Oh, you mean Really Love You? Was it Really Love You?
No, there's a promo.
There's a promo for Rinse the Raindrops too.
Yeah.
But part of Twin Freaks, right, Tom?
It's part of Twin Freaks. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was quite a find, and it's you got 2 of them. Wow.
I got 2. Yeah, but the thing is, I just bought it when it came out. I mean,
right.
I was on a mailing list or something. You go, okay, there's a Paul McCartney album, and I just bought it, like the Fireman album, that first Fireman album, Strawberries, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just bought that on spec. I didn't really know if it was Paul McCartney because it was, they were being very, very cagey about it.
Yeah,
exactly.
You need that one still, I think, Tom.
No, I've got that one. I just need the only thing I need on vinyl really is Rushes. It's Rushes, yeah.
Yeah, I've got
that. You've got
of course,
because he's in the motherland. He's in the
motherland.
Yes,
exactly.
So of course he got it. It's easy.
See, this was a UK only release. So of course he'll have the opportunity to get it. So then going back into to other countries now, this is the 12-inch. This is only a Brazilian.
Release. Yeah.
Okay, so there's not many countries did a 12-inch version of Waterfalls. So this was a pretty cool.
That's pretty like the Brazilian Once Upon a Long Ago.
Exactly.
Well, there you go. You've got one up on me because I haven't got that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then here's speaking of Brazilian too. I just got this the other day. Is the Brazilian Off the Ground. So this was a Brazilian pressing. So So just finding that stuff from around the world is.
Well, it's amazing. You can still, if you look on Discogs, which I know, and my collection's on there too. But you can find a halfway decent priced record on there. But then to get it shipped from the UK will cost.
Oh, it's just as much. Yeah.
It's just as much as what they're looking for the record. So it's the shipping. It's great having all these online markets to buy from where you want, but to get it shipped is half the cost or more in some cases. You look for a 12-inch single that you want. I wanted to get a copy of McCartney 2, an original Parlophone pressing, and relatively cheap. I think it was like I don't know, £5, £6. Right. 12 pounds, at least 15 pounds to ship.
Right.
At least, yeah.
At least. Yeah. So yeah.
I know it's made collecting overseas releases really expensive, and then I don't know what it's like where in America, but you have tax and VAT.
As well,
so it's just.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
almost killed it in a way. They've almost killed it. You know, by putting all these extra taxes and costs on. You know.
Yeah, especially in the UK with the VAT. That's a whole other thing that most Americans have no one. You know, when you buy something, you got to pay that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got a slightly different system, haven't you? Because did you have goods and service tax, and or was that Canadian?
No, that might just be Canada. We don't have that.
Because but over in America, you buy something and it's $4.99, and then when you take it to the till, they add the tax on, don't they?
Correct.
Right.
Depending on what's, and then that tax is different depending on what state you're in. Like in New York, it might be 8.5%. I don't know. Oh, it used to be 8.5%. In Pennsylvania, it might be 6%. So it changes state to state.
Yeah. Whereas over here, it's just a flat rate, and it's included in the price. So if it's you take your $4.99 item up to the till, it's $4.99.
Oh, it is included in the price.
Okay.
Oh, it is.
Okay. That's okay. That's cool.
That actually is good.
So besides Volume 5 of songs he was singing, do you have anything else in the works, or are you working on anything, or just enjoying life right now?
I've started doing some painting.
Okay.
I haven't. Have I got anything I could show you? Do you want to see one?
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'll have to unwrap it. Here we are. I've always been interested in art, and I did an art history degree, and I thought, I'll get back into it. So it's kind of pop art typey things.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Very nice.
Things like that.
Yeah, I like it.
That's Joe Strummer, obviously, from The Clash.
Clash, yeah.
Do those kind of things. That keeps me occupied. I really don't do much writing. I mean, obviously, now I'm going to just knuckle down and do Volume 5.
Thank you. Yes.
But no, I haven't done any writing since the George Harrison book, whenever that came out.
What was that, 2015?
Something like that, yeah.
So, there was the 2 volumes, yeah. So how did that book do, by the way?
It did okay. It was self-published again, and a lot easier. And also, it's available globally because I go through a company who've got kind of print on demand, and they've got facilities around the world. So
Okay. All right.
Anyone
so you can still find those books.
Unfortunately, I mean they're expensive because they're full color and hardback.
Right.
So I wish they were cheaper, but it's beyond my control because the company I use set the price. It costs me to print it, and then Amazon take a cut, and then I get a teeny weeny little bit.
Yes, the way it is. If you're self-publishing, that's what happens now.
But I didn't do it to make money. I did it because I enjoyed it, and
right.
It's a bit of a challenge, I like things like that, I like the research aspect of it.
Right.
Probably more than the writing bit, but so yeah.
Cool.
Volume 5.
Yeah.
Sometime in the next 20 years. I'm taking the Mark Lewison approach to it.
There you go. There you go.
There's the answer right there.
There you go. Just follow Mark's lead.
Perfect. Well, John, this was absolute treat for us to have you back on and just to discuss the books again. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking me because I mean, as you'll know, I haven't exactly got a huge online presence. I haven't got a website or anything like that.
Right.
I do tend to hide away in my little office. So, thank you both very much for an entertaining hour and 20 minutes. And
but thank you.
It's been great.
It's been great. Your book was an introduction to finding books that were just on Paul McCartney as a solo artist, and it's been like a Bible for me. It's on the Lewison level. It's the Madinger Easter. It's
no.
It is but that's how I classify it because it's a perfect go-to book to look at for a discography. And I'm very thankful that I found the book when I did, and strongly encourage everybody else to go get it. Either now, can you still buy this one, or is it, or you can't buy this one anymore? So you got to get the ones that Tom have. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could probably find that on eBay.
Probably.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I've seen it on eBay, and it's for stupid money. It's like $300 or something.
Wow.
Don't listen, people. Don't pay $300 for it. Because basically, because I'm not getting any of it. So
that's right.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true. See, that's why the prices of the archives go up a little bit, because McCartney's team, they see that those past out of print archives are going for big bucks, so they're thinking, okay, well, if they're going to go for big bucks, maybe we can start charging a little more and a little more and a little more. So.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, did you get the fireman box? Did you get that? That came in a big steel box. Did you get one of those?
No, didn't. I didn't. No, didn't get that. No, but I've seen it, and it's pretty.
It's very impressive, isn't it?
Yes, it sure is.
Yeah,
it sure is. Like, So those weird ones, those weird releases, like the Run Devil Run singles collection that I got right there. Again, I mean, if they're only released in the UK, I mean, they're hard to get here.
Yeah. It's like in your book, you show that picture of the All the Best promotional 7-inch single buy. I would love to look for that.
Now, I'm telling you right now, those All the Best, that set.
Yes.
Somebody had that on eBay, and that ended up going for over $200. I was locked in for $100. I wouldn't have spent any more than $100 on that.
That looks nice.
Those were beautiful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was given one of those as well.
Well, I figured that because it's in your book. And I love that's a great set. The All the Best promo 7-inch single.
I was told by the rep, because it comes with this little like 7-inch by 7-inch photograph of Paul, and it says all the best.
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, I was told by the sales rep at the time. Apparently, some of them were actually signed by Paul McCartney.
I believe it.
I assume those were the ones who went to like friends and family.
Right.
And the head of EMI probably got one.
Probably.
Yeah, the promo stuff is, that's the
best
stuff that you see going for $200, $300, $500.
Well, if you want to do another show, I'll dig out all my promos and we can.
That would be awesome.
Would love to.
Would be great. Yeah.
Would love to do another one like that. Yeah, do a promo show. Yeah.
Okay. Well, just let me know where and when, and
all right. Cool.
We'll
do
something.
All right.
Make him sick with jealousy that I got them.
Oh, listen. I'll be jealous, but Tom's jealousy goes off the charts when he's doing something he doesn't have. So.
Andy, what you got going on, my friend?
I've got one other thing I can show you. Sorry, I forgot you can edit this in. Okay. So you're all familiar with this?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
What's different about it?
Are you
alternate
with that?
No, the different image on the single.
Yeah.
No, I never saw that one.
That one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one there. What's unique about that?
It's withdrawn.
Oh.
It was never came out. No, it was never.
So that was that going to be the sleeve, and then they changed it?
That was going to be the sleeve. Yeah, that was.
Oh wow! Is it record in there too, or just the sleeve?
Yeah, records in there.
Oh wow!
Of course, records in there.
There used to be. Oh, I've got to bore you now. There's a great record shop in Hanway Street in London. There were two really good second-hand record shops in Hanway Street, which is the Tottenham Court Road end of Oxford Street. And there was this. It was a dirty, grubby, horrible record shop. And I went in there, and it was stuck on the wall. Ooh, what's that?
I'll have that.
I'll have that. Thank you very much.
That's nice, John. That's a nice one. Yeah.
There you go.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Better picture too.
Yeah. It is a better, isn't it? It's a better. That's a much better sleeve.
I love it.
Love that one.
Why on earth did they go with the other one? I mean,
I'll take that one too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
But no, with me, nothing much. Just recovering from the fest. I know I have to get some more videos up on my own channel. That's the other leg, Andy's Music Vault, and I promise you I will. I just had a whirlwind of a couple days in Chicago, so I need to kind of recover. But before the month is out, we'll have another video up on my own channel. So check that out.
Excellent. And my other show, Talk More Talk. By the time this is up, we'll have interviewed and posted our our episode talking to Owen Ling on his new book, George Harrison in the 1970s, and a lot of interesting. Owen has some really
Yes, he does.
interesting opinions on
Yes,
things,
he does.
and we're going to be talking about that. A lot of those interesting opinions on the show. So by the time this is posted, that episode will be up as well. So you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Two Legs Podcast. You can check out our YouTube channel, Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, and our email address, twolegspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching or listening, however you check out our show. John, this has been an amazing hour and a half with you. Just love
it.
Love the knowledge and your experience writing these books. And hopefully we'll get you back on again to talk about these wonderful promos, this promo collection that you have. And
which will, for you audio listeners, you're going to have to tune into the YouTube version
exactly.
for that. So if we get John back and he shows us these great promo collections that he's got, you're going to have to check us out on video because you won't be able to hear when he shows his awesome things that he has in his collection.
That's very true.
That's very true.
Anyway, look, and again, thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you very much.
Cool.
Thank you, John.
So for Andy, for John, I'm Tom, saying have a great day and a beautiful night. Take care, everyone.
See you, folks.